So this one is really, really interesting. I don't know if you guys caught this, but a few days ago, there is a tweet or an X post that says, choose one path, continuation of Zack Snyder's Justice League or Gunn Superman. I know, guys. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But somehow Jay Oliva got brought into the mix. Uh, Somebody brought up Jay Oliva, says, very close-minded, ignorant take on animation. I'm sure Jay Oliva would disagree, because somebody was talking about how uh, I'm an adult, not really into cartoons anymore. I don't want it animated. That's stupid. The only reason anyone wants it animated is because they know live action would eclipse anything the DCU is doing. So Jay Oliva got into it. And I'm going to read his tweets here, because there is a tweet here that is really, really interesting. And I'm surprised, and I'm surprised not a single person has really brought this up and talked about it, because I've never heard this before. And I was very heavily in the SnyderVerse fandom for a number of years. So he says, I didn't say it wouldn't make sense in animation. I just expressed my own personal view that I'd prefer to see it in live action, preferably with Zack's and my own involvement. I don't mind having paid work. And to be clear, the term cartoons refers to the old Saturday morning kid stuff that sold toys. Animation is a genre that spans kids and adult themes and stories. To dismiss animation because you think it's for kids is a disservice to all the great animated adult content. Flashpoint Paradox was not made as a cartoon. The very dark and adult themes from the comics were things I wanted to amplify into a serious look at the ramifications of choices we make in our lives and how that affects our world. Not really made for kids. Could the Snyderverse work in animated form? Of course it could. I even threw out the idea to continue the original cast to play their animated forms into an animated Kingdom Come universe that continued after the last movie of the live action Snyderverse. That way, the original cast involvement can be minimal, but still continue their roles in these beloved characters, but in a type of retelling the events of the Kingdom Come in the Snyderverse. Ultimately, it never got traction because of the decision to abandon the universe and cast. But if I was involved, I would have directed the hell out of that series, since I love Kingdom Come as much as I love The Dark Knight Returns. And you saw how I did that in Flashpoint Paradox. So I see Mano's time. Jay Oliva is an animation director. He directed Flashpoint Paradox. He directed The Dark Knight Returns. He's worked with Zack Snyder, did a lot of storyboards early on for Batman vs. Superman and things in the Snyderverse and stuff like that. He's actually a really good animation director. He's done other animated stuff, but sticking in the DC realm, that's some of the stuff he's done. If you haven't watched those, I highly recommend watching those. Highly recommend watching them. Anyways, so getting to this, he threw out the idea to continue with the original Snyderverse cast after the final Snyderverse movie. So after Zack Snyder's film arc, to continue with that cast, a Kingdom Come arc. So adapting the Kingdom Come story to fit this cast and where that story left off. Where that story left off, adapt Kingdom Come to fit these characters. That is wild to me. And the fact that nobody has grabbed this and really talked about it is shocking to me. That is absolutely shocking to me. Now, do you think it would have happened? I kind of think it would have. Now, mind you, this means that Ben Affleck would not have been involved with it, because his character would have died at the end of the Snyderverse. When Zack Snyder finished his arc, Ben Affleck's Batman would have been dead. If you remember his plans, it was to kill off Ben Affleck's Batman. That he would have had that technically in the original idea, Bruce Wayne and Lois Lane would have had a kid, and he would have continued on as the Batman in that universe. But it did get switched to, it was going to be Superman's kid and Lois's kid. But regardless, Batman would have died. He would have sacrificed himself to save Lois for Superman. So Batman would have been dead. So all these other characters would have continued on into this Kingdom Come type of universe. Really, really interesting. Really interesting. And I have, like I said, I like Jay Oliva. And he's the one that I would love to have create the Snyderverse and the animation. That's why when I say animate the Snyderverse, because I truly do want to see the Snyderverse continued in animated form. He's the one that I would want running the show. He's the one that I would want directing those movies or working with Zack Snyder to direct those movies and really push them forward. Whether Zack did part 1 and Jay Oliva did part 2 or however, that way they can get done simultaneously, get them done fast and get them out the door. However it would be done, however they would have to do it, I want Jay Oliva working alongside Zack Snyder. They work well together. They've worked in the past together. I actually think he worked on Twilight of the Gods with him, I believe. Regardless, that wasn't a great show, I know. But again, I would like to see the two of them work together to get that done. And if and let's just say it did well. Let's just say animate the Snyderverse and it was animated and it did well, then something like this could be in the cards. And I think that would be a really cool thing to explore. A really, really cool thing to explore. But the problem is you have people like this guy here, this John Baker, or you have all of the other Snyder boys and Snyder Bros who bitch and complain because it's my way or no way. And then we're never going to get anything. So they'd rather get nothing than getting it in animated form and possibly more. And to me, that's just wild. It's like, stop being so toxic. Stop being so childish. Stop being so ridiculous. And sit back and say, you know what? I would love to see Zack Snyder's vision completed. And let's support him making an animation. You know what? It's not what we all want. It's not how we all wanted it to happen, but we have to understand the business. So let's get it in animated form. And you know what? If it does well, awesome. At least we get the final story. We get the rest of it. And now we hear something like this. And if that does good, then maybe we can get more. If not, if it doesn't do well enough, at least we got the story that we wanted to see finished. It's baffling to me. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to think because, again, I think it's really interesting. I can't believe this hasn't picked up more traction. I really can't believe it hasn't picked up more traction. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you have to say.